Hi, I'm Tracy Pierce. Thanks for joining me for these free little mini animal communications. So this idea for this series was born really out of what was happening here in the United States during the lockdown period during coronavirus, March, April of 2020. Yeah, it was really just wondering what the animals thought about everything that was happening in the world. It seemed like, every time I went outside, even if it was just literally going outside or taking the trash to the dumpster or something, it felt like things were just really different. And I wondered what the animals thought about all of that. So I did a whole bunch of animal communications, a lot of domestic pets, some wild animals during March and April. And after that really hardcore lockdown period ended, my animal friends asked me to go ahead and continue with that. So I'm continuing. The last month or two have really been focused on more wild animals. And actually this week we're doing some insects. So all different kinds of animals. I'm really excited to share these animals' wisdom with you here today. So today we have an animal I've never talked to before. I pull up its picture for you. This is a pill bug. And it was a pretty big one. And it may be hard to get a sense of scale in this picture, but for a pill bug, this was one of the largest ones I'd seen, and it really caught my awareness. When it comes to wild animals, when I'm looking for animals who want to come and be interviewed or share their wisdom with us, when I'm walking around, I'm just holding this question above, really, like, what animals would like to come forward. And that particular day, this one really caught my awareness. I mean, look at the detail on the sky. Like, this camera was able to catch a really detailed photo, but just really cool to see how intricate they are. And so I've never talked to a pill bug before. We'll see what we're gonna come up with here. So again, if you're joining me live on Zoom, if you'd like to get in on the conversation, if you have a question for this pill bug, there should be a little bar on the bottom of your Zoom, a button that says chat. Click on that, type in your question, and we'll see what the pill bug has to tell us. So I'm just gonna go ahead and get quiet, start tuning into this little bug and see what it would like to share with us today. Well, it is showing me right away that, when I captured this picture, which I think the date's still on it, so May 11th, so, 6 weeks ago, he's like, I was in my full glory at that time, and he is showing getting squashed since then. So this little pill bug is no longer living. What else would you like for us to know about you? And this particular incarnation, it felt like you were trying to catch my awareness. There might be something in particular you wanted to share with us, or maybe where you are now. Like, it's kind of up to you. He says, I'm in a pill bug cycle. Okay, that's interesting. And he actually is talking kind of quickly and showing that he's in this series of pill bug reincarnations. There's something for him to really learn about the earth and connecting with the vibration of the earth. He's showing that I really want to call it a he, even though it's really an it. There is sort of a masculine quality about pill bugs in general, it says. Yeah, I guess I'm not even really sure how pill bugs reproduce, or how sex and gender might play out in pill bug reality. Need to brush up on my insect biology, I guess. What else would you like for us to know about that, or you, or the series of incarnations? So it's showing its role is much like a composter in a way. It shows like eating dirt and kind of like moving through the dirt. There's it churning up the dirt. There's a very close relationship with earth and soil in a pill bug's life. Is there something, it feels a little bit like the earth element, not just the physical earth. I wonder if, is there something about the earth element that you are really working with, or there is a sense of being one with that earth element, like that is the primary thing there. And it's showing me, so this frequently happens with animals. They'll show me it's more of their blueprint rather than it being something about an individual personality. So this pill bug is showing me more the blueprint, or like the higher archetype that the pill bug represents. And it's saying, even though I'm not in this particular same physical body as when you took this picture, I might as well be, because there is this certain archetypal energy that I'm working with that is really important in my own evolution. So it keeps pointing me towards, if you can see in this picture, I'm gonna try and hover it with my mouse, this little plant life area over here. And there's a sense of the pill bug kind of like having previously been a plant, and this evolution into incarnations as this pill bug. Yeah, it's showing me this thing about energies and how there's this vibrancy and what in my tradition might call like an etheric feeling coming from the plant. And yeah, it's just, I just get this sense of like movement in a circle, this kind of churning, moving energy that's part of the bigger whole of the earth. And this pill bug is showing me, it's like, well, I'm just this tiny little bug, but I contribute to things that are evolving and moving. He's like, yeah, I might get squashed and, have to come back and be reborn again. But even when I die, my physical body and that becomes part of the earth and compost and churning, like it keeps moving and evolving. Yeah, I feel like there's something about evolution, something deeper about evolution that you're showing. I'm not sure what this exactly means, but it's showing me like this sort of, it almost looks like a megaphone coming out, and like, so there's plants kind of at the end, and then different species of animals like insects, and then as the animals get kind of bigger. Yeah, it's showing like, okay, so there's this amplification of whatever's happening to the smallest creatures, like the insects. He's showing me also, remember your conversations with the bees previously, and how, bees are kind of endangered sort of these days, like showing how that when the smallest creatures become endangered or there's something wrong, it amplifies that energy throughout this spectrum of other animals, throughout the species. It sounds kind of like what you're saying is we got to take care of the smallest beings as well, because they can kind of represent what could happen on a larger scale to even, humans. I'm seeing horses, bigger animals, that bears that might possibly seem impervious to these little things. She says, yeah, your friend used a perfect analogy the other day. It's like the canary in the coal mine. When you see really bad things happening to the smaller insects and the other little organisms, he says, yeah, you got to pay attention. He's showing me the soil and how there's all those little microbes and things that, you know, don't necessarily look like animals to us humans, but they are very much alive and they're part of the biggest organism. Like when things start going wrong with those creatures is when we really have a problem. And do you feel like there is a problem, things happening in the insect world? Definitely. It's showing me how, okay, it's doing that thing where it reads a little bit of something about me and then so it makes sense to me. So he's showing me, like yesterday I was walking in the evening and we were just being eaten alive by mosquitoes. And I made the comment like, man, I don't remember there being so many mosquitoes here in Colorado as when I was a kid. It seems like there's a lot more now than there used to be. And it's showing how that can be an indicator that there's something kind of out of balance, where he's showing how with humans messing with the natural microbial stuff in the soil has created an imbalance of the way things used to be, basically. And yeah, basically as humans, we've played God a little bit in a way that has created imbalances in these smaller insect and even smaller kind of worlds, that then that's why you see more mosquitoes, or that's why you see more rats, or these kind of more pestilent kind of little insects that bite you, ticks, those kind of things. He's saying it's not that mosquitoes or ticks are overall bad. It's just that there used to be a different ratio how they existed, and there wasn't so much. He keeps highlighting mosquitoes, like mosquitoes really being this, showing mosquitoes have a very significant tie to the human race. And as do rats, is what it's saying. And those particular species, like watching when they get too much out of balance, like there's something out of whack, it says, when you see increase in those kind of numbers. It's fascinating. Okay, looks like we have a question here. So do you feel like those imbalances you were just talking about in small areas also cause the rise of these big viruses, perhaps like coronavirus, like what's happening right now? It says, well, it's part of it. That's not the whole. It certainly creates an environment where those kind of viruses are more able to thrive. So it is showing me something about like Wi-Fi and how that is part of, in its opinion, is part of what's affecting our immune systems as humans. And so there's also like things like that to consider, that, you know, there's these multi-facets that have made it easier for these kind of viruses to penetrate and harm humans. Okay. I feel like there's a little bit more to that. Am I missing something? It is showing how these imbalances definitely radiate out because it affects the soil, and the soil affects how plants are grown. And, you know, we eat plants, but we also eat animals, and animals the plants that they eat, if they're not 100% balanced, is showing like, I believe there's, different studies and that they've done where they show the nutritional content of, like, say, a piece of broccoli from 1920 versus 1990 or something like that, and how the mineral and vitamin contents are different. And he's showing how, there's so many of these micro little things that, yes, so in a way he's saying yes, but that's not the entirety of it. But he is showing all these different components of how different systems are connected and important. And saying we really, for us to move, for us as a human race, is saying, for us to move forward, our next thing that we really need to pay attention to is these little microbes in the soil. Like, it keeps pointing to like these little, just these little tiny parts of the soil in between the cracks of this, and how soil particles are really made up of a lot of living organisms. Saying, yeah, like humans, some scientists believe that we're like 80% other kinds of living organisms, and we don't really understand how we all fit together and work with each other. There's such a desire for individuality in some ways in our particular cultural society, that sometimes we don't care, or we don't want to see how much our actions might affect other people or have impacts on other systems. Like, our impact can be much, much greater than we really realize. Is there anything else you want to say about how these imbalances might be affected or affect the viruses or other things that are changing in our world? You say we really need more scientists who are sensitive and aware, maybe people who are really gifted in seeing energies. He's pointing to, maybe autistic, or he's using air quotes, like special children who really have a deeper connection to that earth element. And he's saying, like, kids really in particular have a lot more connection to the earth than humans. He's showing me, like, Tracy, remember like how much you used to run around without shoes out in the grass when you were a kid, and you never do that now. Yeah, totally. Like, it almost feels a little dangerous to me in some ways to do that. Saying that's why when we're learning about soil and really getting to more the energetic heart of these little microbes that live in the soil, how kids and their level of curiosity can play a really big role. It may be, he's saying maybe there's like a special kid adult team that works on this particular project. He's really kind of hoping there's something like that happening, or that will happen. He keeps really pointing to the microbes in the soil as being the next kind of environmental kind of revolution, if you will. I guess that makes sense to me. Yeah. A little strange, perhaps, but I've got another question coming in here. How can we make a difference individually in healing and protecting the soil and the earth? The first thing he says is, eliminating or really, really, really minimizing any kind of pesticides or herbicides you're using in your yard. It really encourages people to learn about, gosh, I can't think of the proper word for it. It's like complementary planting of, certain kinds of plants that will attract certain kinds of bugs but repel other kinds of bugs. It really encourages people to learn about that, and especially if they live in a home where you know, they're going to be there for a while, and people have the availability and money to invest in doing some landscaping like that. That's something that he says, my insect community, we really, really appreciate those kinds of oases. We really appreciate those. Says, and that's what allows us as insects to really do our jobs with the soil and composting and the pollinating, is when we have the proper combinations of plants, then we're really able to do our work much more effectively and do that work with the microbes that we do in the soil. So it sounds like you would kind of like most people to have some gardens, some insect-friendly gardens that are pesticide, herbicide-free. Says that would be ideal. He understands, you know, that gardening actually can take a lot of work, and you know, it's not that expect you to like go out and spend a bunch of money and do this, but you know, if and as you have the availability to work with plants and putting your hands in the soil and really feeling how the soil is alive, like it's not just dirt, like there's more than just little dirt particles in there. Like if you're doing gardening, putting your hands in the earth and really feeling what that is. Yeah, he's showing like appreciating worms, adding worms to your soil, looking at the bugs, appreciating them. But he says, if there's one thing I would ask would be to reduce or eliminate pesticides, herbicides, those things, because it shows those things can be very, very damaging, and in ways that humans don't fully understand at this juncture. Humans don't fully understand the aliveness of the soil and how the pesticides kill not only the bugs or the weeds that they want to kill, but they're killing these other levels of life forms, some of which they may not even be aware of yet. Thanks, that's really great advice. All right, well, we're coming to the end of our time here, so thank you, little pillbug. That was really, really interesting. And thanks again to everyone who joined us here live. It's been so much fun for me to bring these messages from the animals to you. I hope you'll join us again some other time. So until next time, take care and be well.